Greetings, my name is Vinesh Maharaj. I find myself in the beautiful, sunny Africa, South Africa, Johannesburg, where I'm streaming live from. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a published author, speaker, trainer, and coach, predominantly focused in the arena of sales. However, I'm so grateful that we can share this platform and I can talk about my book, Kick Average in the Teeth. So, for the next 30 or 40 minutes, enjoy the ride. I was born and raised poor. Half of my friends are dead and the other half are in jail. Where I grew up on the Cape Flats, drugs and gangsterism are real threats to life. When I was a young boy, 13, 14 years old, I would go on holiday when somebody died, got married, or on the rare occasion on a family vacation. And I would sleep on the floor at a relative's home for 2 weeks, and if I was really lucky, I'd be able to see the ocean for a day. I came home at that young, tender age, and I asked, was God playing this crazy joke on all of us? And I asked, how is it that the haves, the people who have beautiful homes, beautiful cars, beautiful lifestyles, travel and experience, have so much more, and we the have-nots, we're fighting to keep the lights on and the roof over our heads. Now, don't get me wrong, my parents tried their best, and somehow it just never reached the ability for us to live an exceptional, inspired, and motivated life where we could be fulfilled, joyous, and celebrate the achievements in any area of life. Having said that, it dawned upon me two very stark, raving realities. The first was that we have the power to choose. Those who had affluent homes and beautiful lifestyles and travel, they made a decision to live a particular way. And unfortunately for my mom and dad, they chose to fight for survival. In that, there's a golden opportunity and a lesson that changed my life. In addition, the people who were the haves, who had the beautiful homes and cars and lifestyle, travel and adventure, they had that because they had found the recipe to live a fulfilled life. So what you look for, you'll find. Where focus goes, energy flows. You may already know this. At that tender age, I made a decision. Number one is that I'm going to refuse to settle for our average. I'm going to refuse to be a victim of my circumstances. I'm certainly going to refuse to fight to survive. I made a decision that I would thrive in this life and I would learn everything I could from the greatest minds of our times and beyond and before us so that I could equip myself to get my quality of living and quality of experience to the next level. That birthed this wondrous idea. And the idea is very simple. You can choose to live an average life, or you could live an obsessive, exceptional, adventurous, and joyous one. Let's talk about an average life. Think about this for a moment. You're a guy or girl, young and single, free to mingle. You meet up this charming person who's rather average, has an average sense of dress, an average sense of humor, has an average job. You then go out to dinner to an average restaurant where the meal's prepared by an average chef with average ingredients. Thereafter, you order an average dessert. Gosh, not very exciting, right? But the night gets worse. You go to the movies, starring an average actor with an average script written by average producers and directors, with an average soundtrack, with an average ending. My good people, do you think that you're going to have mind-blowing experiences beyond this average day, moment, hour of your life? And the truth is, no. And why is that so? Because so many people have surrendered to this thing called average. And there's nothing wrong with being average if you've intentionally, deliberately made a decision that this is the way you want to live. But for people who wanted more, for people who want joy and fulfillment and love and abundance and spirituality and travel, exploration and experiences that grows the frequency of the human being, of the heart, of the mind, of the soul, average is no place fun. So, if you recall, you're born into a family like most of us. And in this family, we generally compared to our peers, our brothers, our sisters. Why can't you be as good as he or she or they? Or why do you not do so well at maths or at geography or science like he, she, or them? Parents do this with the best of intention to raise us so that we could play at higher levels. But invariably, we settle to the average. Now it gets worse from there. You go through puberty and you grow some body parts and you realize, oh my gosh, what's going on? And what do you find? You invariably find love. And as you know with Romeo and Juliet, your first love ended in tragedy. Now, of course, if you've been beaten by life, it's easy to settle. And this is what I think happens to most human beings. But the story continues. You often would then go into university, get a degree, get a job. And the dream was one day you'd meet the right girl or guy. You'd go on your knees and propose to her. Sell her the dream, the white house, the white picket fence, 2 children in the playpen, and 2 chickens in the pot. Look around you, man. Who's happy? And I'll tell you why we're not happy. It's because we've settled and surrendered for average. Now, if you believe that you are really living the life of your dreams, where your heart is buzzing with emotion of fulfillment, joy, and abundance, and if you feel that you've traveled all of this planet and you've seen everything you've wanted to in your many years, and if you feel that you've accumulated all the toys and trappings of success, then this is not for you. But this video really, or this stream, is really for those people who want more. I want to share with you 3 high-level ideas to help you be more, do more, and achieve more. So there's a wonderful story told by a speaking author. His name is Mr. Brian Tracy. You may have heard of him. And he talks about people going to this wonderful fantasy island called Someday Isle. And what is the topic of discussion on Someday Isle? People sit around the fire and they swap excuses for why they are on Someday Isle. And the stories are, someday I'll get my degree. Someday I'll get married. Someday I'll finish my schooling. Someday I'll join the gym and lose the excess weight. Someday I'll start eating like a champion. Someday I'll invest in my spiritual development. Someday I'll. And people on Someday I'll sit around swapping excuses for why they find themselves there. Why are you here, Joe? Vinesh, my parents divorced when I was very young. And it shattered me because I thought I was the reason for it. And why are you here, Mary? Well, Vinesh, my mom died at childbirth. I never got to meet her, and I've been broken all my life. And why are you here, Vinesh? I was born and raised poor. And why are you here, Jonathan? Vinesh, if I told you my story, you'd never believe it. I've always been a victim, and I continue to be one. People on Someday Isle suffer the disease of excusitis and victimitis, and it's our duty and responsibility to stop this behavior, because true adulthood, true fulfillment, and true commitment to an exceptional life as opposed to an average one commences when you and I take 100% responsibility and accountability for where we are. We are where we are because of the choices we made. If you married him or her, they certainly did not put a gun to your head. If you've landed that job, they certainly did not strap you with grenades and say, take the job or else kaboom. No, you made a decision, you stepped into the fire or to the ring, and now there are consequences that we have to live with. What I'm saying is that we are responsible for creating our realities. And right now, we need to take responsibility to create the ultimate life as opposed to the average life. Bear in mind this wonderful mantra that goes, if it's to be, it is up to me. And all that matters is that I win today. I'm not talking about victory at the expense of others. I'm talking about victory in the pursuit of your life, your dreams, your goals, your ambitions, your travel. This podcast, this video is really to help you take responsibility, ever increasing responsibility, to change your outcomes. If we want exceptional, we got to make a decision and a commitment. I'm responsible for an exceptional, outstanding life that is not average. So I'm going to take responsibility for my outcomes. I'm going to take responsibility for my change. I'm going to take responsibility for my growth. I'm going to take responsibility for my destination in life. We cannot cry foul any longer because we know that we are responsible. Within that responsibility, we have ability. You know, the word responsibility comes from two words, response and ability. The responsibility is on me. We have the ability to change the trajectory of our lives. We have the ability to change the outcomes of our lives. We certainly have all the ability to create an exceptional, fulfilling, joyous life. So right now, I'd like you to think about all those places in your life where you've absconded responsibility, where you've handed responsibility over to your partner, your husband or your wife, where you've handed all responsibility to your company so they make decisions about your career and your future, where you've handed over responsibility or negated responsibility, where you've negated responsibility for your life. I'll give you a bad example. Every time you drive through one of those drive-through takeouts and you order that burger and fries and that sludgy, fake, artificial, sugar, carb-induced, deep-fried, fat-filled pleasure meal that gives you a moment of sense gratification, a moment of relief and joy, and that bliss as it hits your tongue. And boom, you've just given up responsibility for living a great life. And I'm not talking about the one meal, the treat meal, or the cheat meal. I'm talking about when those meals become the meals of your life. So we have to take back responsibility. And part of that, my good people, my dear friends, is we take responsibility by sowing and creating the final outcome, by taking the decision right now, right here, today, that I refuse to be a victim of my circumstances. Rather, I am the perpetrator. I'm the co-creator. And suddenly you have power back. Most of us have given away our personal power. But right now, you can take back all the personal power you have and start using it in the fulfillment and the achievement of a life well lived. So there was a great poet 200 years ago. His name was Rabindranath Tagore, and he said, "Spring has passed, summer is gone, and winter is here. And the song that I've come to sing remains unsung because I've spent my day stringing and unstringing my instrument." He speaks of regret. And the Germans have a wonderful saying. They say, "Too soon old, too late smart." We get old very quickly. We don't get wise very quickly. And that's part of the challenge. Us taking responsibility and ultimately taking the decision to create a life where there is no regret, where there is no looking back and I would have and I could have and I should have. And Tony Robbins speaks of, you end up shoulding all over ourselves. Gosh, nobody should be doing that, living a life in regret. Now, number one, we're going to take responsibility. We're going to create, set the ideal lifestyle, whether that's in your health, your spirituality, your money, your travel, your exploration, your community. Whatever inspires and motivates you to live fulfilled is where you need to focus your time and your energy. In addition to taking responsibility, we require what we call an obsessive zeal. There's a beautiful word called monomaniacal. Monomaniacal means an obsessive zeal where you put all your attention and all your energy on a single discipline, an idea, a vision, a goal. And when you achieve mastery, that monomaniacal focus, that tunnel vision focus, is what gets you to the fulfillment, because you've achieved this very meaningful goal in your life. Now, we have many goals. It may be to look great. It may be to earn more. It may be to be debt-free. It may be to take more spiritual retreats. Whatever the goal is, you need monomaniacal, laser-like focus. You know, Bruce Lee said it very wonderfully. I don't fear the man who's got 10,000 kicks. I fear the man who's perfected one kick by practicing it 10,000 times. My good people, what are you practicing? Are you split focus and creating nothing? Or are you laser focused, monomaniacal, on the goal, totally obsessed with zeal, with enthusiasm on a single outcome? You know, we live in a world of constant distraction. People have motor vehicle accidents because they're on their smartphone, either speaking or texting. They're distracted from the real deal. Then you get people who are so overly stimulated by social media that they have no time for themselves. And they're always feeling pity for themselves because everybody else out there appears to be living a life fulfilled besides poor little old me. And poor little old me suffering the syndrome, pity party of one, because I've now taken responsibility to create the life and then go after it with monomaniacal focus and actually create it. So really what we need to do is take responsibility. Get obsessed. Obsession is deemed to be a bad thing. I'm not talking about stalking. I'm not talking about an obsession with something negative. I'm talking about an obsession with something that creates, that's beautiful, that's charming and delightful and gives you the result in the life that you deserve, my friends. Obsession can be healthy. Obsession that is not to the detriment of yourself or others serves your goals. But when you are scatterbrained because you have social media screaming at you nonstop, you have Netflix, Showmax, and a host of other TV channels to choose from, you have the internet, we're so busy and yet so unproductive. We need to master the art of laser-like focus, keeping the main thing the main thing. And if we do, you'll be amazed by what you will sow and harvest. Because you only reap that which you plant, which you sow. So bear in mind, my good folks, you need a goal or an outcome in mind. And then you need that laser-like focus. And you've heard this before, and I'm going to quote it once again. I don't think any school, university, or teacher spends an hour on goal setting. Yet we spend 12 to 16 years at school, at university, and sadly, not an hour of personal development on how to set goals. In addition, while you're at school for 12 to 16 years, you get spat out of that system. 200-year-old education system spits you out, and we have no skills for life. You may be an accountant, you may be a doctor, you may be a plumber, you may be a librarian. But people don't have the skills to create and manifest their goals. Really, the objective of life for most people is to be happy. And how do you achieve happiness? We achieve happiness by fulfilling those high-value activities in our lives, where we're focused on the things that give us bliss, joy, and pleasure. In my case, I'm a sucker for world travel. I can't wait to spend another moment in another culture, another language, another cuisine, another cobblestone street, because so much of heritage is being sucked up in those moments. That fulfills me. Now, for me to do more of that, I need a plan. And that plan is understanding my values and my drivers. What drives me? How do I get focused on producing the revenue and the systems that I can be spending a life traveling the world, exploring and experiencing? It is really, really critical that we develop this laser-like focus after we are clear about our goals and objectives and we are fully committed to achieving them. You may have heard of a story. We wake up every morning in a box, your bed. You then open the box cereal and you warm the milk in the other box called the microwave. And then you eat your box cereal, you get in your box and you drive to work. You get to work, you get into a box elevator, you ride it up to your floor, you put on the box called your computer and you go to work. You come back home at night, same routine. You open the box called the fridge. You take out a box dinner, stick it back in the box microwave. You turn on the box to be distracted, and then to change your state, you get yourself another beer, a cylinder as opposed to a box. So many of us are living without real passion, fire, love, purpose, joy, because life somehow has become so uninspiring to many. And I believe that part of the problem is that we've been beat down by our well-meaning parents, our society, our religions, our politics, our social programming, that we have forgotten how to dream. I remember when I was a young man, not only did I want to see the world, but I wanted to be a fireman. I wanted to be a gladiator. I wanted to be a Superman. I wanted to be a Batman. And of course, those are kiddish or childish fantasies. But nothing stops me from being the Batman of my life. Nothing stops me from living full out, being totally present, sharing, loving, and experiencing everything that life has to offer that fulfills my heart and my soul. But we've surrendered, my good people, because we've been battered by life. You know, you go through marriage, and some marriages, 50% of them end in failure, called divorce. You may have lost a kid. You may have lost your parents. You may have lost your house. You may have lost your home. You may have lost your car. You may have lost your job. But those are things that are in the way. They're not on the way. They happen to be the things that you have to overcome. And when you overcome them, you grow stronger in character. You grow deeper and wiser in understanding. Don't let life kill the dream, because the dream is real. It's the nightmare that isn't real. And far too often people are living the nightmare. There's a wonderful story about a young man who was a janitor at NASA. And this young man was part of a study. And the study went through all levels of executives, astronauts, physicists, scientists, administrators, and managers, including the janitor. And the question to all staff was, one of the questions was, what do you do here for a living? And this young man wrote a very interesting answer in response to that question. Days later, the management team was going through these questionnaires, and when they stumbled upon this young man's response, they were baffled. So baffled that they convened a meeting and called him in. And he was kind of nervous. Why do the managers want to see me? He gets in there, and they ask him, why did you say this? And the question asked was, what is it that you do here in NASA? And the young man said, I help to put man on the moon. Bear in mind, this was in the 1980s. I helped to put man on the moon. And they turned back at him and said, but my good sir, you're just a janitor. He says, that may be true to some, but to me, I helped to put man on the moon. How do I do that? I ensure that the floors are not wet, but they're clean and slip-free. Because should an astronaut, a physicist, or a scientist slip and fall, fracture and break any bones, they will be removed from the mission, deeming the mission to be difficult to impossible without their assistance. When that person is sitting on the toilet pot, you and I want them focused on the mission, not on the shortage of toilet paper, as you may typically experience at other places. And lastly, when they stand in front of the mirror, washing their hands, I want them to stand tall and proud of their uniform and their mission. I don't clean toilets, my friends. I help to put man on the moon. So what is your mission in life? What is your vision? What is your goal? Is it going to be great, exceptional, outstanding, romantic, and filled with candlelight dinners and late night salsas and beautiful walks on the sunrise beach? Or is it going to be more traffic, more pain, less fulfillment? My friends, life is so full of choices. We can choose to be average, or we can choose to be exceptional. We can choose to suffer, or we can choose to serve. We can choose to love, or we can choose to be angry. So in every moment, we are filled with opportunities to make better choices. Last but not least, I'd love to leave you with a thought that I think is extremely profound and could be really life-changing if you wish it so. You will remember Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, creator of world-class tech, changed the landscape on smartphones, media, music players, computers. And Steve Jobs, when he delivered the Stanford commencement address at the graduation of 1995, gave a very wonderful speech. And one particular point resonates with me so much. And he said, looking forward, we cannot connect the dots. But looking back, isn't it obvious how we have all gotten here? Having said that, looking forward, we may not be able to connect the dots, but we certainly may establish the final destination. Because when you make a decision and you're responsible for the outcome, and when you have laser-like focus, you build on the muscle of commitment, perseverance, persistence, because through your energy and efforts in the right direction, you absolutely must mount success. You must achieve the final destination. What is it going to take for you and I to achieve that level of fulfillment, joy, bliss? That we live our lives where every moment is an inspired moment, where every heartbeat is a heartbeat of gratitude, where every smile is meaningful and changes people's perceptions, where every word is enlightening, uplifting, and inspiring, where every meal is a moment to be grateful for the wonderful taste and flavors that we can experience through the simple thing called our tongue, where every sound could be the sound of music, where every painting could be a Picasso, where every heartbeat and breath is a breath of hope. This young lady waltzes upon the square and she notices a gentleman painting. And this lady approaches the gentleman and says, "My good sir, is it you?" And the good sir says, "Yes, it is." She says, "Mr. Picasso, is it really you? I want to pinch myself." He says, "Yes, ma'am, it is." And she says, "Oh, I'm so honored to meet you. I've loved your work." And what did the young lady then say? She turned to Picasso and she said, "Sir, would you be so kind to sketch this little drawing of me?" She pulls out a pen and a pad, and in 30 seconds, boom, he's got this beautiful sketch of her by hand by Picasso. She says, "Mr. Picasso, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much." She takes it, folds it up, puts it in her bag, and she's so in awe that she walks away. And as she walks away, Picasso says, "My young lady." She says, "Yes, Mr. Picasso. What's the matter?" He says, "You've forgotten." She says, "What have I forgotten?" He says, "Well, you've forgotten to pay." She says, "Oh, gee. How much do I owe you, Mr. Picasso?" He said, $1 million. And the lady was stumped. And she realized, I'm in trouble. I don't have $1 million. She walked up to Mr. Picasso and she said, "Sir, it took you 30 seconds. And in response, he said, "What took me 30 seconds with you now has taken me 30 years in preparation." Looking forward, we can become masters of our destiny. Looking forward, we can become masters of achievement, fulfillment, joy, and abundance. Looking forward, let's make the decision that you and I will never exist lives of mediocrity, that will never suffer love that is average, that will never travel with an average mindset, that wherever we go, that we will be breaths of inspiration and provide hope to people who are either less fortunate emotionally, spiritually, financially. But let's be committed to greatness. Ladies and gentlemen, I challenge you to kick average in the teeth. For those of you who don't know me, go and check me out on Vinesh-Maharaj.com. Alternatively, go and check me out on social media. Get my book, connect with me, help me spread this word, because nobody's meant to be average. We all have greatness within us. I'd love to help you enlighten, enliven, and be the best version of yourself that you could ever be. Don't be average, be obsessed. Until we meet next, sayonara, bon voyage, Vinesh Maharaj.